So, what you're actively doing right now, not just like staring at the wall, is copying down that height of corn table. It's a table about corn. It's a corn table. I know, it's a little corny.
Oh my god! Oh my goodness.
So we're comparing sandy soil to clay soil. We're comparing sandy soil to clay soil. But guys, it feels like this table is a little hard to work with because, like, did they plant the same number of plants in the sandy versus the clay? No, they didn't. Because if you look across to the totals, they totally did not. So, like, when I compare 150 to 225, that feels like a poor comparison because, well, sandy soil had more plants planted. So actually, what this tells me is clay soil feels like they have a lot more, quote unquote, like they do have more, but it's not just a difference of 75. Because clay soil has 75 more, but they planted like half as many plants. So this is kind of a bad table. Yeah, it is. So once you guys get this copied down on your paper, I want you to discuss with your neighbor, like, how could we modify this table? How could we rework this table, like, to actually communicate some information for us? And what we're really looking at is what sort of soil should we plant our corn in? Right, so if we're trying to analyze what sort of soil should we plant our corn in, how would we tweak this table? And this one gives you all the totals. Tables won't always give you all the totals. So I want to give you a couple minutes. Copy the table, realize that it's not that good of a table, and try to figure out how to make it better. Because remember, the straight up numbers are not the only way we have to communicate data. All right, talk with each other. Hey, what depends on what here?
The soil depends on the growth of the plant.
So the amount of growth will then change the soil type?
The other way around. Mine.
Switch it, reverse it, like
Yeah,
Willy
yeah,
Wonka would say?
yeah.
So the height is dependent on the soil, meaning the soil is the independent variable, right? Height is dependent, soil type is independent, because we can change the soil type however we want. Do we all have this copied down? I don't want to switch slides till we have all the numbers copied down. Okay. Now this is what I need you guys to tell me when I try to go too fast. What are you doing there? Are you hunting rabbits? Who says they're hunting rabbits?
Money.
No. Money for rabbit being hunted.
Yeah. Wait, the sheriff guy?
Wait.
No. Mr. Hudson. No. The
Who
black
says
dog.
I'm hunting rabbits?
Wait.
Name Steve.
I don't remember if it's a duck or
Like,
maybe.
Oh, it's wait.
It's Elmer Fudd.
I don't know who that is. Is that Elvis? Girl, I don't know. You're so mean. Okay, alright, you guys are really. Okay, all three of you are the type of people to be like, sing 5 songs from that band. Like, girl, nobody cares. No, Potter.
That's so annoying. Like, I don't think it's just.
Are you the type of person? As long as you're not making. Are you the type of person?
See, look. It's not. So the duck is normally involved.
Yes.
It's duck.
But that's Elmer Fudd.
That's what I said.
Elmer Fudd.
And I did this. The sheriff.
I don't want to get flagged for copyright. Yes.
Okay,
You know what?
Is that the origination of the glue company?
Not sure. Elmer's may have actually been around before Elmer Fudd, the cartoon. All right.
What?
So, because soil type.
Yes.
Look, we can only go off to the side if we can come back. Soil type is our independent variable. So, because it is our independent variable, when we're analyzing categorical data, which that's what this is, we have categories of what type of soil, and then categories of how much growth. When we're analyzing categorical data, you want to use your independent variable as your total group. So how many of the sandy soil, how many of the clay soil, and not how many actually, but how much of. So right now this table is in how many. We want how much of. What's better than using straight up numerical data? Percentages. So what we want to do is take this table and rewrite the table if this becomes our 100% value. All of these values across should add up to your 100%. So how can we calculate a percent?
1675 divided by 100 times 750, 575, 200, and 151. All that together should be.
Okay. Or another way that we can always do percents.
I'm so smart.
I didn't say you weren't. Another way you can always figure out a percentage is the part you're looking at divided by the whole of the group and then times 100 to move that decimal. So I want you to rework this table into all percent values, and now we don't really need to care about the bottom total set. We really just need to care about going across. We're going to redo this table in percentages. I would not erase, I would just draw a new table. Then I want you to be able to tell me which soil you think we should use. So I should see new tables being drawn. And guys, you can abbreviate sandy soil as SS and clay soil like CS. Probably that or someone's on roof.
Isn't clay soil already the sandy soil?
What do you mean? What do you mean beat? I don't know what you're comparing. So I think once we convert this to percentages, it'll be easier to talk about what we notice. So I would say convert to percentages. Are we actually making new tables over here? So I don't even see a
I was drawing my
drawn Beatrix. No, you're on that Beatrix. But Mick doesn't have a table drawn either, which maybe you're the issue for the two of them.
Wait, me?
Since neither of them have their table drawn.
Well, I can't work and talk.
Yes, you can.
Shut up. I can't work and talk, sir. I don't understand what you're talking about.
Then maybe you should stop talking.
But they were talking. I wasn't even talking. They were talking.
And
They were talking about thunder.
yet, you still are. You are not. When it's the truth and it hurts, that's a you issue.
It's not you, bro.
Too bad. So, in case you need some help, for example, this is going to turn into about 9% for that top left sandy soil section. Because if we do the part divided by the whole, we get 0.090, which is really 900ths, right? That top left, right up here. This would turn into 9% of the sandy soil. Ended up in the height range of 0 to 3. I actually like being here when it's raining, because especially the drain pipes that come through the wall, you can start to hear it. It's like water quality.
I love it. It's
I like a good thunderstorm when I'm camping. You guys ever been camping in the rain, like in a tent? Dude, it's sweet. It's like so, because the rain on your tent and then the flashes of light.
You don't have a waterproof tent.
Well, yeah, I have high quality camping equipment. I am an Eagle Scout. I still try to go camping at least once a year, but normally more than once a year.
There was one time when I went camping and did not have waterproof tents. That was
I need your help. I guess I'm going to add a few more lines first and cheat a little bit. I'm sitting in the rain, just sitting in the rain. What glorious feeling. I'm happy. Do you guys not know that? Am I just this old? Do you know what it's from?
One more time for me, sir.
No. So, we need what percent here? We already said 9%. I might as well use cards to keep us all on our toes. Like Humphrey Bogart, who I think is the person who sang that. Amir, what about my next percentage going across? 11.94. We could have probably rounded that up to 12 if we wanted. I don't think Vivian's here still. No, you are here. Oh, crap. I keep thinking you're not here because your name is on my list, and then I realize you're not in my war anymore because you switched gyms, and then my brain is broken until I see you. So, Vivian, I'm glad you're here. What percent would go here? So it was the 575 out of 1675. It's okay if you don't have it. Huh? This is tough math to do without a calculator. Do you want to skip it now? Owen, you got that one? About 34.3. I like when you say about and then you are exact. I know you probably rounded a little bit. Simon, what about the final percentage here?
I got around 45%.
Yeah, it makes sense that it would be our biggest percentage, right? Because as our, and then we want to double check, we can add all these up and we should get 100. But since no one is raising opposition yet, I think we can probably trust those. Laurel, what about the first percentage for clay soil?
Around 27%.
Yeah, and guys, that 225 is a way higher percentage than what we would think from like, I don't know, it's even higher than, well not higher than this one. But our whole is way different now, right? Our whole amount is way smaller. So you said, what percent did we get here?
Around
27%. Will, what about 3 to 4 feet for clay soil?
I would say 8%, but like that's rounded. So.
Sure, we can round. That's okay. We're just doing approximate data. Mick, what about our next percent here? I think it's going to be between the two of them.
200 divided by 825 equals
Correct.
that times 100 equals 24 of 24%. Let's round down. I don't know, you telling me and you already have the answers which from when I was calculating. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
If it's his, it's his.
Answers.
I know possession is 9/10 of the law, quote unquote, but no, if it's his, it's his. Alex, our final percentage here? Well, before we get to the 100%, did you calculate this one?
No, I haven't got it.
So it'd be our 250 out of 825, if you want to calculate it real
I
fast.
don't either. Say what you said.
I hate the syntax error. It's the worst. Alex, you got us all in suspense. We're waiting.
About 30%.
About 30%. Makes sense because it should be our biggest percentage here. All right. Okay, because around it. Vivian, back to you because I put your card in the middle. Based off this table that we see now, what might you say when we're comparing the soil types to the corn growth? Sorry, say it again. It's super loud. For what? Like, what are you saying better for? So you're saying clay soil is better for taller plants. I don't know if I agree. We might?
I feel like sandy
What's
soil-
making you say that?
Like, a clay soil, like at 7 to 8 feet, it has 30%. Wait,
I agree with that. But also, here's another almost 30%.
I don't think we even see the number.
Well, that's why I asked you guys to do it on your paper. And there's other open seats closer. Vivian, you supposed to wear glasses?
no. My eye doctor told me to switch contacts for a week.
They're probably playing with it to see what happens with you. Sorry about that. If you need to sit closer, feel free to sit closer. We'll move on from you for now, especially if we're struggling to see. Oh, this is dangerous. Maddie,
What?
thoughts, opinions, observations?
Okay. So basically, personally, I have to blame it on my hand, but I think sandy soil is better.
Say more.
Because-
I'm scared to ask, but say more.
4 to 8 is better than like the clay soil, right? So 4 to 8, that's better than like.
So what percent do we have here in the 4 to 8 range?
We have
40,
about
70, 79, like almost 80?
almost 80%. And you see the thing is, I feel like the goal of the corn is to get as high as you want, right? So then if that fertilizes your soil, then that's going to be the best.
You guys know the you live in Ohio, you should know this. Do you know the saying about corn's height by the 4th of July?
No.
So when you're
I know
driving around and you
soybeans.
see cornfields, healthy corn should be knee high by 4th of July. That's like so that's how you can check if your corn is doing good. But guys, knee high, that's like 1.5 feet, maybe 2 feet. You don't want your corn to stop there. You don't want your corn to end up down here. You would like your corn to be taller than you are, because the taller it is, the more corn you're actually gonna get.
Mine?
What do you call the person in charge of the corn army?
Oh no.
Gus?
Oh.
The colonel.
Dang it. Oh, ew.
Come on.
But-
All right. I hope.
I like
Hey.
soybeans better.
I'd like to skip something, but I got to ask you first. I hope if I asked you to make bar graphs for these, that we could make bar graphs and like, okay, every box is 10% and I can shade up to like 18%. Like, can we make bar graphs?
Yes, we can make
Okay. I don't think we need to practice that. I'm pretty sure we know how to make bar graphs. Alex.
Could you average out those percentages? Not like adding them up and dividing them by the amount of percentages?
We probably wouldn't want to if we want to keep it categorical. So it depends on if we're analyzing it as categorical data or what we're doing with it. So today we're talking about categorical data. So it's broken into those categories. So if we made a bar graph, it would probably look something like this, right? I want to remind you the difference between a bar graph and a histogram, though. Histogram needs to have equally sized bins.
And spaces.
Right, so even though histograms don't have spaces
They don't.
between the bars, so even though this is ranged data, that a lot of times we do histograms with ranged data, but the ranges they split us up into are not equivalent. To use a histogram, we have equivalent sized bins, right? And we normally use that with frequency data. Now we're looking at this with percentages, which you could do the same thing with, but this would not be a histogram, it would just be a bar graph, right? Now let's analyze some blood sugar. So I forgot to clear ink off these slides, so give me a second. I'm embarrassed.
Oh, don't be, sir. We always just say
So, when we are talking about categorical data, actually take a moment, copy this down. You can abbreviate everything if you want, like LBS, HBS, like low blood sugar, high blood sugar. Copy this down. How are we doing, Mrs. Demise? Sophie, like lemon?
Yeah.
She'd be in connections now. Yep.
Oh, wait, you memorize the schedules?
No, but I just had her, and I know where my classes go after me. And I know that when you guys are late, it's Estes' fault because he was before me. So now we again need to think about what is the independent variable. What can we change on our own?
The bar.
What bar we're eating.
Yes.
So what's the dependent variable?
Blood sugar.
But yeah, because your blood sugar is dependent on what you eat. So, should we be, like, so on the last problem, our independent variable, right, type of soil we planted, was what we totaled up our 100% on. The independent variable is where we totaled 100%. So for this data, keep not going far. For this data, what was the independent variable?
Wait.
What we control.
Yes,
Independent.
the
We control. The bar we eat. So the independent variable is what we get our totals from. It's going to be really confusing if somebody is watching the video and they look at this being March. Last year I got way behind. I forget what happened, but we were doing this in March.
Oh.
So these are the totals that we want to care about. Those are the 100% that we're going to talk about. So when we switch this table into a percentage table, we're going to go like vertical. We're going to look at the columns, not the rows. So we're going to be totaling up. This, I believe, becomes 500, and this, I believe, no, 350. I was about to say, well, it's more awkward than the others. So those are the totals that we're using. What we want to be able to say once we analyze this data is, do we think either of these bars has a substantial, like, oh yeah, if you want to lower your blood sugar, do this. If you want to, eat this, and this will probably happen. So convert this to percent data, and then see if you can say something like that. Oh, based on the data, I have observed.
Based on accumulated knowledge that the blank bar is the best bar.
I believe you if you had a percent table on your graph paper already. You've already converted this to a percent table. Yeah, it's all mixed fault.
Just blame me.
I know, but we're taking turns. You're blocking my way.
So wait, so you
Will you grab me that big?
wait, so Maddie,
Please?
Maddie,
Yes,
you're
but-
stealing
oh.
mix calculator.
What? Well, no, because I did
It's
this.
calculator.
I did the lost conversions, and then he gave me my answers for the conversions.
We're never gonna
And
get to
this
Jenga
time-
today.
What? I'm walking. I'm getting my calculator.
Walk fast.
You can do Jenga any day.
Walk like
Like
a man,
going.
talk like
Like
a man.
You wouldn't go higher than 90.
Okay, and
And
when it was made does not matter. Hence why I know about it, even though I wasn't alive back then. It's called a classic. The classics never die.
I've watched some like
okay, whatever.
classics, but I haven't watched like that. Sounds like me and my grandparents.
Also, I was involved in musical theater growing up. So when you're involved in musical theater, there are certain songs you just learn, like Singing in the Rain. All right, I shuffled the cards, unfortunately, because I was getting ready for Jenga. You know, and I'll even take a volunteer. Give me both percentages for the mighty bar. Nick? 20% and 80%, because that one breaks up nicely. Both percentages for the force bar. Claire?
Rounded up 18 and 82.
18 and 82, or if you don't round. And strength bar. Owen?
19 and 81.
So based off that, what might we say?
That's the.
High blood sugar is good.
It's not only
Do you want higher blood sugar?
Well, it depends on the thing. 'Cause, like if you're exercising, then yeah, you want high blood sugar. But average, no. That's.
Is there, okay, so if the purpose is you're going to eat this before you exercise and you're going to raise your blood sugar and then bring it back down, I guess if we're comparing the bars, is there a substantial difference between the bars?
No.
Not really. So when they say like the strength bar is packed with more, but I mean, at least if we look at the blood sugar comparison, like technically, yeah, right? Like,
It's just 1.2% more.
and is a 1% difference really like statistically meaningful? Not I mean, if it was like 1% versus 2%, okay, sure, that 1% difference makes a big deal. But this is like 80% versus 81. And guys, also, were our sample groups the same size? No. So if you really want this to be statistically accurate, we need to create sample groups of the same sizes. Otherwise, this data could be skewed because it was a small group. This data should be better, like smoothed out, like biases taken care of, because you have such a big group. Questions on looking at data and analyzing it based on percentage?
Like the more data you have, like the clearer it is.
So here's the biggest thing that you need to know. What you said is true, yes. Where you do your 100% is the independent variable. So if we quickly go look at, did I bring one up here? I did not. I'm gonna borrow this real quick. I'm gonna borrow this real quick. If you quickly look at your homework paper, what is the independent variable? What are you in control of? So that is part of question A. So you're going to complete totals for both directions, but then you need to determine what is the independent variable, because that is going to tell you where to make the 100%. No, wait a minute. Conditional relative frequency table.
That's a big word, sir.
I know, that is a big word, so maybe we should talk about that together. So I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes to look at this. Maybe do your totals real quick. And then I want us to chat about that real fast, and then we'll probably do Jenga teams. So the question you should be asking yourself when looking at this problem is, does the trucks purchased depend on the fuel prices, or do the fuel prices depend on the trucks people purchased?
I'm sorry.
Because you're asking the statement both directions, right? So look at the first problem on your homework. It is dealing with the trucks that are purchased and fuel prices.
You can't control the
Do the fuel prices depend on the trucks people purchased? No, they depend on oil, right? Like how much oil is available, how much has been made into gasoline. Would the trucks being purchased depend on the fuel prices?
Yes.
Yeah. So the trucks are dependent on the fuel prices. The trucks are So what's your independent variable here? The fuel prices. That's your independent. That should get your 100%. So on here, your independent is the fuel prices. We should be doing 100% like vertically, right? 100% vertically, like the one we just did with the force bar, mighty bar, strength bar. Yay.